Welcome to the Chinese Medicine Podcast with your host Marie Hopkinson, Chinese medicine practitioner.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Chinese Medicine Podcast. And today on the channel, I'm joined with Jessica Kennedy, who is a Chinese medicine practitioner and an expert in the area of 5-element acupuncture. So welcome, Jessica.
Thank you.
So Jessica's from the UK and she's recently come to Australia. And so today we're going to talk about what's the difference between 5-element acupuncture and just your stock standard general everyday kind of acupuncture. So maybe Jessica, you can tell us a little bit about that, because a lot of our viewers won't know what the hell is a 5-element acupuncture.
Yeah, no, that's really true. It's quite big in the UK and in the US as well. There are schools that teach it in both those places, but I don't think it's taught in Australia.
Yeah.
And I came across something the other day, and I think I might be the first person practicing 5-element acupuncture in Perth.
That's pretty
Which is
good.
great, yeah. And so I'm trained in both 5-element and TCM, which is the style that's more broadly practiced here. And I use them both. It's fantastic to have the toolbox of the two. But the thing that's really special about 5-element is it really looks at you, the patient, as an individual in a lot of depth. And obviously that is a strength of Chinese medicine in general and a strength of TCM, but 5-element practice takes it to a kind of deeper level and really looks. Basically, it's kind of in pursuit of this question of not just how are you and like what's wrong with you as it, today, but also like who are you, like fundamentally, constitutionally, what are your core issues, your core strengths, and it's this beautiful model with the 5 elements of water, wood, fire, earth, and metal, and each one of those. The model is saying that we each have a primary constitutional resonance in one of those, and that gives us tendencies towards certain types of health imbalances, but it also gives us our strengths and the things that people find special about us. And so the 5-element diagnostic process is all about working out which one of those each person has greatest resonance in, and the benefit of it is in Chinese medicine there's this concept of the ben and the biao, the root and the branch. Okay. And like if you treat in the ben, if you treat in the root, you're going to get this kind of beautiful blossoming of the whole organism, versus kind of hacking around in the branches. Okay. And where you might make an impact, but not in quite such a profound way. And so to try and treat constitutionally, you're trying to get to the kind of the root of the person,
So deep down in the cause of everything that's going on. Yeah. Okay, so that sounds like it might have a bit of like correlation between like psychological understanding of our body, personality types. And
That's definitely true. The way that Chinese medicine views the body, doesn't view the body and the mind and the emotions and the spirit as like a whole different bunch of separate things. It has this kind of really integrated understanding of how the mind and the body move together. And I think Chinese medicine in general is very interested in how the person is feeling in themselves, as well as like physical problems and the relationship between those things. But again, 5-element takes that to a kind of further extent, and is very interested in kind of how how balanced the person's feeling, how much they're out of kilter, and a whole different set of ways in their mind, their emotions, as well as their body. And then it also, when it comes to treatment, as you know, Chinese medicine doesn't think, right, I'm going to treat the body today and then go to a psychologist tomorrow for the mind. Okay. It doesn't. The fact that you're using a physical intervention with the needles, with the acupuncture, doesn't suggest really treating the body. You're aiming very much to treat the body, the spirit, and the mind all at once. Right,
it's a person as a whole.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what about if a patient comes to you with, like they have a bit of both? They have like some mental stuff going on, and they have like some physical stuff going on. Can both of those things be addressed at once, or do you have to address different things at different times with the system?
No, it very much tends to be about addressing things, not exactly as a whole, but symptoms, whether it's say kind of anxiety and fatigue, or anxiety and back pain that Western medicine might see as unrelated. Chinese medicine is quite inclined to seeing patterns within that, and those patterns aren't like, well, this is the physical stuff and that's the mental stuff. They're like, okay, this is one grouping that the tradition from the thousands of years worth of wisdom says this all tends to happen together. And so when you treat, you certainly a process of prioritization and of analysing kind of what's going on in the person overall, what's important, what's underlying what, you're choosing where to intervene, but very much people don't necessarily think to mention stuff. I ask them a lot of questions. I ask them when I deal with a lot of questions, and I even have them fill in a sort of epic form before they come in the first place, because I don't want to miss information, because people often have no idea the things that acupuncture can help with. One very common understanding is that it's great for musculoskeletal problems, and obviously it's well known for that. But that's like just the smallest part of where acupuncture can start to help.
Just the tip of the iceberg.
And so people don't think to describe some of the ways in which they're not feeling great unless you ask the question. And certainly, acupuncturists practice in a really diverse range of ways, and I think people tend to be drawn to the practitioner who is really well suited to what they need. And certainly the style I practice really involves spending quite a lot of time with people and really making sure that I'm not missing anything that's happening with them.
So there might be a bit more talking in your style of Chinese medicine than maybe some other styles of Chinese medicine.
It's like, I talk about putting the patient at the heart of the treatment, and I don't think anyone's like not doing that. But it's like taking that to a really kind of optimal sort of point to make sure that like the person is really getting the ideal treatment for them, and like literally for them,
Okay. So how long would it take? Maybe some people are interested to, or they might be thinking about that question, like is it the same as going to a TCM practitioner in terms of consultation?
In terms of consultation, I think it varies to some extent how a TCM practitioner approaches that, but I would tend to ask people to allow up to 90 minutes for their first appointment. Which is long and is an investment of obviously people's time, but that investment is in the process of discovery and treatment of their well-being. So that 90 minutes includes a whole diagnostic process discussion, looking at the tongue, feeling the pulses, and the first treatment.
And how long does the treatment take when you do 5 element?
Well, needles are typically, if needles get left in, and they don't always with 5 element, then they would normally be for 20 minutes.
Okay.
And ordinarily at the end of that as well, in most cases with a 5 element treatment, you do a second briefer needling, which is actually kind of one of the distinctive features of 5 element. And I tell you what, I just was treating a lady a few minutes ago, and as is often the way, those second brief ones, actually, they give such a strong sensation. People tend to think they're still in if they're not actually looking. And it's quite common that I'm like, okay, there you are, you're all done, you can jump up, and they look at me wild-eyed because they think they still have needles in them. But so it's normally it's very commonly a 2-stage thing like that.
Okay, So they have one lot of needling that are left in, and then towards the end, some that are just put in and take it out very quickly, kind of thing. Okay, good. All right.
I think, philosophically, there can be, I've heard the point of view put with TCM that acupuncture is great for approaches like trying to harmonise and clear and sort of smooth out people who have some kind of condition of excess, we would call it, like that tense or hot or angry,
like a blockage of sorts.
Blockage, and that herbs can be better than if the person needs strengthening or nourishing more. And I think one of the strengths of 5 element acupuncture is that without using herbs, it is actually quite strong on the tonifying side, or the strengthening, nourishing side. So then that's kind of what the 2-stage needling is about.
Right. Okay. Well, that makes sense. Yeah. All right. So it's kind of a good system for people to look at if they really, really want to investigate, like knowing their personality, who they are in a Chinese medicine way. Maybe some patients like I have, they kind of always have this like repetitive problems happen to them, and they kind of wonder like, am I causing this? And sometimes it can be a bit of diet, a bit of lifestyle, a bit of stress, a bit of who you hang around with,
Yeah.
and you're sort of attracting these things into your life. Like five element acupuncture understands that kind of thing, right?
Yeah, and very much as well. A lot of people, there would be relevant lifestyle advice, and definitely possibly dietary or lifestyle, but also kind of almost psychological. And I don't use the word spiritual, but kind of spiritual. To what is like how aligned is the life you're living with who you are? Is like a question worth asking, right? And like, is that driving some of how you're not feeling great? And like, it's not like I can tell people the answers to some of those questions, but Five Element is definitely interested in raising those questions.
Yeah, it's a bit more towards that existential side of Chinese medicine, if there was one, than any other system, I think, right?
Yeah, well, I think that's right. Yeah.
Okay. And so what about, like, maybe some of the viewers are really interested, think, different constitution and stuff. Can you tell us a little bit about how would people know if they're a wood or fire?
Yeah, okay, so this is...
Obviously it takes you a long time to do a proper diagnosis. Yeah. But just in general, maybe some things people could look at.
Absolutely. Well, sometimes a new patient walks in the room and I can just see what their constitution is.
Okay.
Sometimes it's really vivid and kind of beautiful. Other times it's a real process, and I can even end up doing a few treatments and doing a process of testing and then hearing the answer from the body and then realising, no, that's not right. Let me look at this person more closely.
Do you think that's because people aren't living in harmony with their constitution?
I think it can be. Also, it can be that other factors besides your constitution can knock you off balance. Like if it's overwork or diet or stress, then something else is kind of like clustering the place up. And once you do a treatment or two and that clears a little bit, it's like, wait a second.
The real person emerges.
That's the real person. Exactly. Like now we've just like shifted some of that stress out of the way. Like, I see them differently now. So there is a process, and I would hate for you to think that you can just diagnose yourself based on what I'm about to say.
Lots of people on this channel know, because I bang around it a lot. Like YouTube isn't a replacement for a real doctor.
Oh, for sure.
Probably a good point.
For sure.
Good place to mention
that's
that.
right.
Yeah.
But like each constitution will be inclined to certain kind of health imbalances, but also towards certain kind of features of character and personality. So wood people suffer a lot with stress, but they're also real kind of warriors. They'll stand up for what's right. They're very concerned with ethics and principles and justice.
Warrior, not warrior. Right?
Sorry.
People struggle with my Aussie accent on this channel. There's a lot of Americans watching which might sort of subtitle.
That's really funny.
Warriors, right? Yeah.
Warriors. Good one to clarify. And that physiologically they might be inclined towards headaches, towards menstrual problems, towards irritability. Not that irritability is a physiological problem. So that wood constitutions can be kind of
easy to get snappy.
It can be. That's right, when they're out of balance. And also they can wear themselves out looking after other people. Although actually, to be fair, there's more than one version of that, and that brings me on to Earth. Yeah. Earth is the Earth energy is the energy of mothering and of food, and so Earth constitutions are very nurturing, sympathetic, caring kind of people. And of course, they can completely drain themselves out by doing that, and can incline to digestive problems, often very oriented towards their food. Also, big thinkers. The yi in Chinese philosophy, the thought, the kind of cognitive skills are housed in the earth organs. And so, on the one hand, everything to do with thinking and reasoning and logic and studying is part of the earth energy, and earth constitutions are often really strong in that. Right. On the other hand, those activities can really drain. Okay. Like, there's this idea of digesting information being a bit like digesting food. Yeah. So if you're studying and you're watching TV and you're reading books and you're having logical conversations and you're eating all day long, those collectively can really drain your earth energy out of you. Yeah. And what else we've got? Fire.
That's really common. That's how people live these days, and I think that's normal. It's really that's the first thing you learn in Chinese medicine. That's like a big no-go.
That's right. And then some of the lifestyle advice sounds so simple, and it's actually really hard to implement. It's like every meal should be a meditation. Like turn off the TV. Maybe chat to family, but sit at a table with and I don't necessarily even manage all this. And chew your mouth full and really pay attention to your food. And this is obviously ancient wisdom, but almost everything that's in the ancient wisdom, slowly, eventually, some scientific, research study comes and catches up with it.
Yeah, science proves it.
There's like basic stuff like if you chew your food properly, there are enzymes that in your mouth, in your saliva, they're only at that stage of the process. If they don't get activated properly at that stage and mixed into your food, then your food won't get digested properly. And Chinese medicine's been saying that without the kind of enzyme detail. Because the evolution of Chinese medicine has been very powerfully about observation.
Yeah.
There were taboos on like cadaver dissection and stuff, which helped Western medicine really kind of surge forward at one point. But the flip side of that is that without being able to cut things up, all these lineages of Chinese doctors that all this wisdom comes down from, they were just masters to the nth degree in hearing and seeing and listening, even smelling their patients to understand what was going on and noticing the difference after a lifestyle change, after a treatment, after a herb. But hang on, I haven't finished. You want?
Okay.
I feel like I've missed out a couple of those constitutions.
Okay.
Yeah,
just earth.
I don't want to deprive the other constitutions of hearing about themselves.
Someone going, what about me?
What about me? Exactly. I don't fit those too. So fire. I love fire constitutions. Fire is all about, and it's actually the heart. It's one of the organs, and actually it's really interesting that in Chinese tradition as well as in Western tradition, love belongs to the heart. Okay. So love, intimacy, relationships, closeness. And so fire constitutions kind of love parties, but they also hate it,
Right.
And the quality of their life is probably very strongly dependent on the quality of their relationship, their intimate relationship. And they what are they prone to? They're prone to anxiety. They may have problems with sleeping. They may have palpitations, like be conscious of your heart beating sometimes due to anxiety. Fire constitutions are fun. Like they're very oriented towards fun and excitement. Or if they're feeling very out of balance, then very flat, very lack of affect, very not able to connect with your own joy. And not able to connect with your own joy is awful. And if it hits, all these things I'm describing, they can hit any constitution. But for fire, this is the kind of core challenge.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we've gone wood, fire, earth.
If we're not doing this in the right order, but
that's okay.
That's my doing.
You can do it in whichever order you like.
Okay, so metal. I also really like metal constitutions. Actually, metal are very refined. Some people can find them a little bit chilly. It's the energy of the father, and very discerning. Metal constitution's home and clothing and makeup and everything is often really exquisite and really carefully chosen. Yeah. It's like the
detail.
Yeah, it's like sort of diamond sharp, incisive judgment. And they're quite concerned with respect, receiving respect, giving respect, but at the same time sort of craving respect but having trouble receiving it, really taking it in. Yeah. And actually one of the things we do in the 5-element discussion, the traditional diagnosis process, is offer a little bit of respect and see how it's received.
Oh, okay, right.
And we'll offer a little bit of sympathy for the earth and seeing how that's received. And offering the chance to get angry to a wood constitution to see, if that,
so must have been fun learning how to do that in your class.
It's a really hard thing to learn, right? And it's not always fun, giving respect is quite a socially easy thing to do, but tapping a little bit into fear or into anger can be more tricky.
Let's see where this goes.
But just kind of watching, can this person receive respect nicely? Or are they no, no, and suddenly flustered? And if you offer them sympathy, do they take that appropriately, or do they also brush that off, or do they just kind of sink into it like it's a bottomless pit, or this kind of. So these are some of the. These are some of the things we're looking for when we have a 5-element diagnostic conversation with somebody. What else I say about metal? Health-wise, the lungs are part of the metal element, and so a bit of a tendency towards coughs, colds that won't go away, asthma, that kind of thing. And unfortunately, they seem to be more drawn to smoking than the average person, who are the least well equipped to deal with it.
Do you have an explanation of why that is? Like,
do I have an explanation? I think it's like, I can't give you a sort of precise explanation for that connection, but more generally, the things that we sort of, these core challenges are core challenges. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I remember a lady once asking me, she told me about her diet, which sounded really good, and she said, what should I change? And I swear if I'd said, go away, eat only pineapples and peanuts, she would have eaten only pineapples and peanuts 100%, you know? Yeah. But I said to her, no, I think your diet's fine. I think from what you said that what you need to do is just slow down. Yeah. And she burst into tears. Okay. You know, that was, to her, that was unimaginable. Whereas any dietary recommendation, she would have immediately gone and done. Whereas the other person who needs the dietary recommendation, you suggest, make some small suggestions to them. It's overwhelming, like to them, and so I think our capacity to like make the change that will most benefit us is the hardest thing to do. And so metal constitutions who are smoking, you know, I mean, I have sympathy. Like, you know, we're all struggling with these on some level. The other thing I was going to say actually is I also have the benefit of quite a lot of knowledge about Chinese face reading. Right. And up here, when you get a little horizontal line across the upper lip, that's a real indication that your lungs will really benefit from being well looked after. So really good breathing, whether it's meditation or Tai Chi or yoga or Qigong or any of those practices that work with the breath. This is kind of like a little like whoop whoop alarm on the gauge saying you would really benefit. And so there are lots, so each of the constitutions will be tending to have certain tendencies. So metal constitutions are more likely to have one of those lines, for example, indicating how much they could do with looking after their lungs, whether or not they really are looking after them, right? But the lungs, the role of the lungs, or the job of the lungs, the organs are sort of like a Chinese bureaucracy with the emperor and the various officials. And the lung official is in charge of receiving the heavenly chi. It's like receiving the beautiful inspiration of the universe. Right. And that resonates back with the whole metal, all those metal tendencies about being very discerning and having really sort of exquisite taste and all of that stuff. The ability to breathe in the heavenly chi. And then, funnily enough, the other organ is the large intestine. It's about getting rid of the waste. So it's that receiving the beautiful stuff and getting rid of the crud. That's both the sort of the core and the challenge for a metal
so that's discernment of what to throw away and what to keep and what to look nice.
That's right.
Okay, that makes sense.
Which leaves us with one more water, because of water. Some of the most charming people out there, water constitutions. So water, so it's about drive, and these people tend to grossly overwork themselves or be super lazy or have trouble and flip between the two. But also it's about fear, and so it's about like real, life and death, like is the terrorist going to rush into the room in a minute and kill us all type of that level of, it's not social anxiety like, oh my god, that's silly. It's like, no, like, are we safe? Is the kind of one of the key questions. Vigilance. And then all kinds of risk taking, all kinds of inappropriate lack of fear. So people who do lots of bungee jumping and skydiving and 200 kilometres an hour on the freeway, and they are your water constitutions. And what are they? So they're often very charming. They're really interested in the mystery and the esoteric and the hidden knowledge. They're actually really good in a crisis, because they're prepared. They've thought about it.
They visualise the terrorists.
So they're probably not going to fall to bits. They're going to be like, like they're going to have a plan almost, what to do when the stuff hits the fan. I mean, it's not like I hate to say I have favourites, but I do like a nice water constitution.
It's so interesting. Like there are 5 elements in our body, and they all have mental, emotional, physical, even relationships to the different seasons and stuff like that. Is there any other things that you would like to let people know about 5-element acupuncture?
Well, I could definitely, yatter on all day, but I'll be respectful of your time.
People here love yattering on.
I really love the 5-element style of practice, and I practice TCM as well, and sometimes that is the right thing. But the 5-element like one thing I really quickly realised in like the student clinic when I was studying acupuncture, and I had my first few patients, is nobody is dull. Everyone is fascinating.
Okay.
And it's like you sit with someone and have a conversation with them for like a half hour. And it's like this beautiful little journey of discovery. And it's not uncommon that for them it's a journey of self-discovery.
Yeah.
You know, like hearing questions and thinking about themselves and feeling really deeply heard in a way that isn't commonplace necessarily.
It's not. It's
in
not
modern
commonplace.
life. Yeah.
Even in medicine, like any sort of health medicine, it's not that common.
Yeah. So kind of holding that space and really seeing someone, really hearing them, and then and like doing the whole little background thing of like, okay, now what is it that person needs, is it's a total joy to participate in.
Yeah. It's good that you love what you do.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, good. Okay.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk about it.
So, Jessica's just recently come to us. Well, not you've sort of, I don't know. You've been here for like 2 years, right?
Yeah, it's going on 2 years. The process of registration of as an acupuncturist. Oh my god. That's not even.
Yeah, so Jessica trained in the UK, and I've gotten to know her through the process of trying to help her become registered and get that stuff sorted out. And so she'll be starting at practice soon, and we'll put the link in the description below. So if you want to follow up about knowing more about what 5-element acupuncture is, and the kind of process that goes on there. Yeah, so Jessica's practice is in Perth, in WA, Australia. But if you want to contact her for a remote consultation, she can do those kinds of things as well. So you can just hit her up with the email and the link in the description below. Or if you're interested in the kind of thing we've been talking about today is called 5-element acupuncture. And there are other people that do it. It's just not a very common... I think in the UK and the US it's much more common than Australia. Yeah. But it's just, I don't think there's any schools in Australia that just specifically teach 5-element acupuncture as an exact style. Yeah. So this is something really interesting. There's a few practitioners in Australia that do it that have come from the UK. Yeah. But so if you're interested in that, then you can look up more about that. And there are some books that people can get to just learn more about 5-element acupuncture. And so we'll probably put the link for those things there if people are interested to.
Actually, that suddenly reminds me as well. I have a little reference, a pack of little reference cards about the 5-element. They're actually 2 per element. I've sold them for years all over the world. And not long ago, I made an ebook version of them.
Perfect. Yeah, that's what people love.
They're so cute and so pretty. Yeah. And what they do, the first one gives you for each constitution like a sort of outline of all of the characteristics of a constitution. Okay. And the second one then gives you all the ways you can nourish.
Oh, that's perfect.
That constitution.
Yeah, I love that.
That's right. All kinds of beautiful lifestyle advice about how to nourish your wood or nourish your water.
Yeah, perfect. So that's really good. Awesome. So thanks so much for your time and being on the podcast and just letting everyone know the benefits of 5-element acupuncture. And so if you've got a question and you're interested in that, then pop your question below and we'll do our best to answer it. If I can't answer it, I'll ask Jessica to answer it for you. But yeah, I'm trying to answer people's questions on this channel and doing the best that I can to answer their questions. Thanks very much, Jessica, for being on the Chinese Medicine podcast again. And make sure you click the link below to find out more about 5-element acupuncture, and you can ask Jessica a question through her email and her links below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We're now on iTunes and Google Podcasts, Spotify, all those kind of podcast places. So wherever you listen to your podcast, we will be there. And so you can subscribe to those. That's super new for the Chinese Medicine podcast. So if you want to leave a review on like iTunes, that would really help us a lot to get the podcast out there, get people to know that it's reputable and it's good. And if this information is helping you, then we would love to just help more people. So the more people that know about it, the more people we can help by letting them know the benefits of Chinese medicine. So hopefully you found this useful and helpful to you. And leave us a comment in the comments below. Thanks.